So I talked to Jeff and I was like, hey, like, what does it look like to build a software from scratch? Like, is that doable? Like, I was I didn't know anything about anything, at the time, as far as software, and I didn't even know what SaaS meant.
I made a video game inside of Canva one day. Now it's a piece of crap and I can't show anybody it. but like it can like write stuff, which is pretty interesting. I'm curious how that looks to you guys who have your hands into code a little bit more. I think the hit rate for ADHD and entrepreneurism is like pretty high. I would say a lot of shiny object syndrome is pretty prevalent. And so focus, I find, is extremely difficult.
We've started officially with Offshore employees since early 2020, which anyone who took a business through COVID knows that that's tricky 6 ways to Sunday, but made it somehow by God's grace. We did and kept going.
I don't know if it's just because I listened to too much Gary Vaynerchuk or what, but he just like really pounded into my brain that business is not a zero-sum game. Well, welcome back to another episode of the slightly over-caffeinated, mildly underqualified chronicles of West Texas commerce and other grand illusions of self-employment. My name is Landon. Today, I had a lot of fun with the name. Today, I have with me Jeff and Garrett from SkillRev and Timbersite. I have been working with mostly Garrett with Timbersite, doing some like really fun podcasting stuff and even a little bit of like mini ads and like videos kind of stuff that we made together. And just kind of wanted to have you guys on, tell a little bit more about your story because I'm interested in it. I've heard a little bit of it, obviously.
Yeah, well, I'm Garrett, and Garrett Day. Been working alongside Jeff, who's actually my brother-in-law. We've been working together for a little over a year now. And been on this journey of, small business and startup together with Timbersite, and joined him in SkillRev and helping them out there as well. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So excited to be on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. My name's Jeff Reed, and like you said, I'm owner of SkillRev. We started that back in 2018, or I started alone, and then prior to that was working as a software engineer for an amount of years that maybe I won't tell you, it doesn't matter. But and then Garrett just joined me in Garrett joined me in that journey a couple years ago. Particularly for rolling out Timbersite, and we just have been having a lot of fun figuring things out together and solving it just one problem at a time and helping people. So,
what kind of gave you the itch to start SkillRev back in 2018?
Prior to that, I was pretty committed to being employed. That was the thing I understood and what knew to pursue based on what other people in my family had done. And so, if you would have approached me and said, "Hey, why don't you like start a side hustle or start your own business?" I would have been really terrified. And so I had seen friends do it, particularly in the software engineering space. After you work for a while and get some experience, you can choose to go out on your own if you're willing to wear all the hats and learn some of the basics of operating a business, But to be honest, I just didn't have a mentor at that time that was willing to share how to do things. And so a couple of things were going on in my life. I was looking to leave my current job and move overseas to attempt to fix something that I sort of saw was wrong in the offshore consulting market. And so I got approached by a guy that I used to work with named Damon, and I was just talking to him a couple of weeks ago. I don't think he remembers us having this conversation, but he kind of talked me off the ledge and convinced me to take the plunge. He's just kind of like, hey, I'm here. I've been doing this for several years. Like when you get stuck, just call me. Like I'll help you. Like it's okay. You can do this. And there's such freedom and such capability to help people. And so he was really encouraging me to become a freelancer back in 2018. And so that's what I started with and kind of went under his wing, and we worked on a project together, which allowed me to move to India and begin to pursue the second venture of starting an offshore consultancy that would, just like in any industry, like if you just do things with excellence, really care about your clients and want to see them succeed, referrals and things like that can take you quite a ways. So that's kind of what started it for us.
That's very cool. I feel like that kind of gave you, at least in my estimation, kind of a lifeline in some ways to be like, hey, if you do get stuck, like you can call me, you like have this resource. Is that kind of how it felt at that time?
Oh, 100%. Because when you're first starting and you're like, somebody wants me to build XYZ application, how hard is this? I don't know. It feels like it could be 3 months. It could be 30 months. Like having someone to talk to is so helpful. Or, hey, what is an MSA? Like, how do I start a business to business relationship? How do I protect myself during that time? Just having somebody to ask those kinds of things too, when all you've known is my job is coding and I'm going to build stuff. Like, that can be just so invaluable.
And Garrett, what about you with Timbersite? Now, if I remember correctly, you were working at a construction company doing like project management, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I had been at a construction company for probably maybe like, I guess, 10, 11 years, and done kind of everything. Really, that's where I started really out of college. I did project management, estimating, and sales was kind of the last little stint of work that I did for that company. And but yeah, working there and using just all the different tools that were available to people in the industry, it kind of, we found ourselves really not happy with everything that was available. And we needed, we kind of really wanted something a little different. And so I started sharing this with Jeff, and I just kind of had this idea of like, what would it look like if we built something just like from scratch, something that was like, this is exactly what we need as a company at that time. So I talked to Jeff and I was like, hey, like, what does it look like to build a software from scratch? Like, is that doable? Like, I was completely, I mean, I didn't know anything about anything, at the time, as far as software, and just, I didn't even know what SaaS meant, software as a service was completely a foreign idea to me. And so we start talking, we start brainstorming, and, time goes on. That was probably in 2022. I think 2022 is when we maybe first talked about that. And yeah, we just decided to kind of start to build something. And my employer at the time was on board. They were like, hey, like, if you guys want to build something, we'll commit to using it if it looks like something we would want to use. So even in that, there was a little bit of a risk of like, okay, we could spend the time building this, and they say, it's not really what we want. So, but yeah, we decided to kind of just a bit step out in faith. Both, we were just thinking, is this really what we're supposed to do? Is this something the Lord wants us to like pursue? And so we decided to go for it, and Jeff started building. I started doing what I didn't know at the time was, but just like customer discovery and really trying to dig in. What are the requirements that all of the different users are going to have, and trying to kind of compile all those requirements so that Jeff has a really clear picture of what to build. So yeah, we started building, and it was definitely a side project for sure. I mean, we did put together kind of a small team of offshore developers to kind of help with that eventually, and we ventured off into building a product. And it was slow and arduous, and I'm showing up to my day job probably at like a lot of mornings, 6 a.m. maybe, so that I can get on a video call with people in India, and I can start to work through these requirements. And it was just a lot of that, a lot of just like hustling and trying to build something that's useful. And yeah, after a good while, we finally had a product that was kind of viable and ready to hand to the client, and the work did not stop. I'd say it almost ramped up. Once we handed the product to the client, they were like, all right, now we need this and now we need that. And so it kind of snowballed. All the meanwhile, Jeff and I are thinking, okay, how do we transition this to being something that we can, mass produce, grow our clientele, and be something makes this a little bit more worthwhile. And so that's what kind of led me to, where I am today, as far as, okay, are we really wanting to give this its best shot? And if so, it's going to need a lot of focus put to it. So
Focus. I mean, as I think the hit rate for ADHD and entrepreneurism is like pretty high. I would say a lot of shiny object syndrome is pretty prevalent. And so focus, I find, is extremely difficult, especially when you do it once and you're like, oh, this kind of works whenever I just, have an idea, develop it, talk, and people give me money for it. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I have this other idea. I wonder if I can do that then too. And then you can easily get off on like so many different rabbit trails.
Right. No, for sure. So I originally we came on, I came on with SkillRev, just kind of under the umbrella of SkillRev, doing sales, and kind of account management, for SkillRev, while also knowing that a big chunk of my time is going to be spent on Timbersite. And I think Jeff and I have both found that like even that's been difficult, knowing like I need to spend some time working on, leads and sales and account management for SkillRev, while also trying to spend as much focus as I possibly can on Timbersite and grow this product. Man, it's constantly just a learning experience of like, okay, this needs more focus and this isn't worth my time. And then we brought you in to try to like, we need to be more visible and we need to get eyeballs on our product. And so there's so many aspects of like growing a product, not only just a small business like SkillRev, but also a product which is a completely other, separate company. There's just a lot to learn and a lot of hard lessons to learn. So, but that's really every small business owner. It's just really a bunch of learning a lot of hard lessons. So,
Well, and that's that scrappiness aspect, in my opinion. It's like being able to figure out, it's like saying like, I'll YouTube it and see, like, I don't know how many times either I've had an idea or my wife's had an idea and been like, this would be cool to do to our house or something. And like, I could pay somebody to do it, or I could spend a couple hours on YouTube and figure it out and try to, research it enough. And especially with ChatGPT now, like it's right at your fingertips if you need instructions on how to do something.
No, for
I'm
sure.
curious how you guys, I mean, obviously when it comes to coding and artificial intelligence even, and like what that looks like for, I know like there's so much that goes into programming, way more than I understand. But I know like I can get into Canva and like I made a video game inside of Canva one day. Now it's a piece of crap and I can't show anybody it. but like it can like write stuff, which is pretty interesting. I'm curious how that looks to you guys who have your hands into code a little bit more.
That's awesome. I think I want to see it. I just find it so interesting, like the places that people are finding to place AI. We're definitely living the overhyped days. It feels, everyone's trying to find that right home that's the perfect fit. But you're right, it's changing even just like personal life. I've been building a go-kart with my son, and so I used to work on small engines when I was a kid, and what we've been messing with, I'll look at it and I'm just like, well, what? This has no model number. Like, what is this part? And I'll talk to ChatGPT about it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a CVT30 transmission, and you need this, and here it is on Amazon. Would you like me to order it? And like, it's just wild. Like the knowledge that is contextualized and available to us now. Post, what was that, December 2022, I think, when GPT-4 dropped, and we're all like, wow, this thing is like talking to a person. It's incredible. But the other space where it's helped is in software development, of course. Developers have had a great discipline, I guess you say, of using forums and things like sites like Stack Overflow for years, and really putting very specific solutions to things out there. In the same way that you can Google and say, how do I change the air filter on my Ford Expedition of this year? Like, developers are kind of taking that approach, like, well, if I'm in React with these kinds of libraries, how do I do X, Y, Z? And so all that information is there. AI's consumed all of that. And so it's a very competent generalist, you could say, that just gives you pretty solid jack of all trades, master of none type solutions to software engineering problems, and can be just helpful to offload some tedium. So we're seeing even now, like with our offshore teams, anywhere from a maybe 10 to 35% time save on average. Some even more than that, compared to before these AI tools were available to us. Things like Claude that just are very specific and niche towards like being good at coding. And we want to deliver that value to our clients and use it to think well through sales proposals, and do some of the research that otherwise might have taken hours, and in 10 or 20 minutes have two or three flavors of like a tech stack to propose for winning a deal. So it's really becoming a key part of what we do for sure.
That's really cool. Like, because my first reaction to thinking AI and coding is AI doing all the writing of the code, but even just using it as a research tool and like that being a huge accelerator is really interesting. Because I imagine it's similar to when I'm doing media stuff. Like, of course, I've tried AI images and videos and songs and all of that kind of stuff, and it's you have to babysit it so much to get something remotely usable. I assume it's
Sure.
probably the same when it's writing code. Is you do need a human in there, like babysitting it, and you do need, because I can't imagine it's checking for every possible permutation of a scenario to prevent against. Because I assume that's part of coding is like saying, yes, this works, but if you add this variable, it also works, and then you like kind of give those guardrails. Is that kind of how that works too?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, because AI, whether it like actually thinks or not, like you can debate that, but when it's working on something, like it's either looking at a tree or it's looking at the forest, like you can control like what level of context it's thinking about, just like with humans. So if you want it to watch out for you at a 10,000 foot view and try to peek around the corner for ways that it's going to paint you in the corner to use the technology in a certain way, you've got to like talk about those things so that it accesses that knowledge that it has and knows to go there. So a lot of prompting would just drive like whether it's giving you like good advice or just sloppy advice.
Yeah, I try not to just trust it outright on most things. It's like, okay, like, can I see your source on that vitamin will cure my depression or whatever you're trying to say is going to happen?
Right.
Like, I'm not sure it's just vitamin D, guys.
Right. I saw a meme the other day where a guy was like taking a photo of a plant and it's like, is this poisonous? And chat's like, oh sure, you can eat this. And the next photo it's like the guy's in the hospital bed and it's just validating him. It's like, you're totally right, that was dangerous to eat, now you need to go seek medical attention. It's like, thanks.
Thanks. I know, it's really interesting. It definitely is. Like, even my wife, she was using my chat GPT so much, and I was like, hey, like, I need to give you your own, because like our conversations are, and like it's just getting confused. It thinks I'm you and it's like calling me the wrong name. It's like, here, can you just have your own account? And she's opening it up to do what she used to do Google searches for, and she's really not like super techie at all. I tend to be a little bit more on the tech side of things, so it's like really interesting to see how it's just like everyday life. I like talk to it in the morning on my drive to work, being like, hey, here's an idea I had, or hey, here's notes that I took from yesterday, or this bracelet I'm wearing like records my day and gives me to-do lists at the end of the day. Like, it's like every step of the way it's just like invading our lives, it feels like.
Yeah.
No, I think that I've found it like incredibly useful. I really, especially, learning a new industry. I came in just last year into this industry and just needed to learn at a much higher rate just to be effective. And it's just been really useful. Been really useful to me to be able to confidently like do some things with the help of AI that if it didn't exist, it would have been a much slower process, I think. So,
do you have any examples that are specific on that? Because that's really interesting.
Yes. I mean, for one, I've written a ton of like construction estimates. Like I can write an estimate really quickly for you from scratch. I don't need AI. Like I can write it and price it and do it all, and I can do that for you pretty quickly. With AI, I actually haven't tried because I haven't been in the industry using AI for construction. I'm sure you can do it even faster. I could do it even faster now. But when I came in and I'm writing proposals to build an application, like build a mobile app or build this or that, like that's totally new for me. New language, new terms, new, kind of structures. So like being able to kind of feed AI what I'm kind of thinking as far as this could be our team and this could be, where we're thinking cost wise. And then it kind of just double checks everything and gives language to a lot of that stuff that then I can, and review and tweak. I couldn't imagine just jumping in and getting a proposal put together without AI and not knowing the field. Once I've been in it, I think now I could probably put something together. But that's really because I would say AI, and along with obviously Jeff walking alongside me, is almost trained me. Okay, here's kind of an industry standard to see. So no, I think it's been really useful for that, and I think probably a lot of people are utilizing it, like I have too, with like legal. Obviously, the legal world, just you know, hey, I don't need to necessarily go to a lawyer to say, hey, can you give me terms of service, or can you give me some sort of end user agreement? Like, it can produce what I want. I can tell it, hey, I want to make sure it has this. I can read through it. I can tell it to omit this and that, and it's just speeds up everything in those regards. So those are two examples that, in the last year I've had to do things that I didn't really know how to do, but because of AI, I didn't necessarily know how to do them. It helped me do them, and now it's really training me to know what to look for and how to execute it next time, probably
Yeah.
even at a higher level. So
I felt the same thing when it came to pricing what I do as well, because it's especially what I do is just a service. It's like my time. So like it's hard to gauge like, okay, where's the value in just like how long something takes me versus how much value I bring on the back end of it, and trying to figure out that little song and dance
right,
of, well, what does the industry charge? What will my market pay for something? Trying to figure all of that out. And I would say, I started my business in 2023. So like ChatGPT was kind of already a thing. It hadn't like fully gotten as good as it is now. So like I was using it in order to figure out a lot of basic stuff. Like,
yeah,
can it help me write contracts or agreements? Help me, I had somebody who wanted to stick with me for an entire year. So I'm like, oh crud, like I got to make sure I have some kind of agreement that makes sure that they're covered and I'm covered at the same time. There's no way I could have written that myself without
right.
hiring a lawyer.
No, for sure.
It,
Yeah, I think it's helped so many people. And what's cool now that we're with Timbersite, we're still in the construction industry, and now obviously, like, there is tons of tech in the construction industry. It's super saturated, but I would say there's still a really small percentage of users, if that makes sense. There are so many construction, like people in the industry. I would say probably primarily like in the residential space, that still aren't utilizing any technology, barely. I mean, they are still stuck on Word and Excel.
oh wow.
And so we're a part of some associations, and like we're a part of a local chapter of the like an Oklahoma Home Builder Association, and then we're part of the National Home Builder Association, and so we've got people reaching out to us now that are wanting us to kind of start to educate members and users to how to utilize AI and kind of be a voice, at least in that space, of people that can train and guide people on how to use AI tools and just technology in general make them more efficient. And that's what we're trying to do with Timbersite. So we're just trying to help people be more efficient, have more time, and just provide a value.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like I have a similar, ethos with the way I am making my content. Is I'm trying to encourage somebody in order to understand that video can be a really important medium, depending on the right person. Not everybody needs to make video content, but if you're comfortable in front of the camera and you're like, especially an owner of a business, having your face out there is like a huge advantage, because people like
Yeah.
people. People like businesses where they know the person, or at least somebody in the business if it's not the owner themselves. But spending my time when I'm making content to do a lot of education and do even some encouragement or case studies of like, here's a brand that did well. I'm talking about Liquid Death, which is like literally a water company that just like did really weird branding, or HEB, who has a cult like following in Texas. Which do you guys have HEBs up there?
Please don't open a wound. That, like, seriously, no, we don't. We don't.
Oh,
And
I'm
Jeff's
so sorry.
like, he doesn't care. But I mean, maybe you care a little bit. You have been to HEB.
I've been in HEB enough to say, like, mad respect. That is a unique, valuable, wonderful thing in Texas. for sure.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
ashamed to say that.
Yeah. I'm
they,
dying. Like, so when I come back, like I have to get just as much of the meaty enda, like
yeah.
Mexican stuff. I mean, the sauces, like the marinated meats, like I'm gonna stock up.
Oh,
So
it's the best stuff in their store, and that's a first party product. That's their stuff, which is just
right. Yeah,
crazy.
it's their
Like their
stuff.
names
That's
on
cool.
it, and that's
Hmm.
their tier of qualities. They beat out, all of like the major companies most of the time. Like I don't know if there's like some guy in the back making the sausage or not, but I assume like they've have such a high quality standard that that's like the big reason.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like they have such a huge following because they just care about their customers. They care about their like. I'm pretty sure they beat FEMA out to Kerr County when all that flooding happened. Like they had a fleet of trucks before FEMA was even out there. It's like
Yeah.
Wow.
that kind of like they care about Texas so much is a huge reason why they've built this brand. So
Yeah.
like
That's impressive.
I'm kind of curious adjacently, like how have you learned any similar lessons as far as just caring as a business strategy?
I think
Jeff,
of
I was gonna let you take that. I've got tons of
The
thoughts.
answer is no,
I
that's
do have
fine.
he's,
I have tons of thoughts around this,
you're
but
doing
Jeff,
great.
I'll let you go ahead and then I'll share
No,
some.
who's the guy? Mark, the Shark Tank guy, Mark Cuban, right? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mark Cuban.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he's the one that said before, just like that sales is just helping people, and just slowing down and being willing to listen and understand somebody's world and make sure you're a good fit. And if they do in fact need help, like making sure they understand their cost of inaction, and how you can help bridge that for them. But we have, apart from just trying to be helpful as a business, like we do have a desire, to be setting up a relationship here, like Garrett mentioned previously, with universities in our city and give people like real life work experience and just kind of give back to the community in that way. Because I remember graduating, I remember trying to interview and just this dilemma you're in of like, I need a job, but they want someone with experience. Well, how in the world am I supposed to get experience if I can't get a job? And just the circle you're in, and it's so frustrating. And so like I can, as a business owner, we can say, okay, like I don't have time for that. Let someone else train them, or you can like be part of solving the problem and say, I remember what that felt like. I'll help them overcome this stepping stone in their career. So that's one practical way to give back, I think. And then just for our business in particular, it's so remote heavy. Like the idea of being in an office and being with people face to face just brings like a level of relationship and meaning to things that we do in the office place that otherwise it wouldn't. Those are a few things that come to mind. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I love this topic. Well, one, I'm in sales. And obviously, like the relational aspect of sales is the thing that I love the most. I love, you know, building that relationship, building that trust, out of like a genuineness, like not out of, hey, I'm doing this to get something from you.
Right.
That's not how I approach it. I genuinely, I love that in doing construction sales, like remodels and stuff, like really building that relationship. Um, that's something that I miss in SaaS sales. SaaS sales is very like, you just give me something that's gonna fix this problem I have, and like much less contact. So that's something where I want to bring in more relational into the SaaS sales. But it's a little harder now with the consulting side with SkillRev for sure. Like we definitely want to position ourselves, and I think we have with a lot of people that we've seen no return. Maybe we've walked with them for months, literally, multiple meetings, brainstorming, trying to help them refine their idea, so that we could execute something together that's going to be successful, for them to only say, you know what, I don't think now's the right time. But like, we still want to be that type of company that, pours into, our clients, our potential clients, for them to get the most value out of. And I've seen you do that with me. you're on the phone with me just talking like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. You're giving me tons of ideas. You're not waiting for me just to say, do this. You're proactively giving me tons of ideas, tons of content ideas, and just brainstorming with me and giving me your time, so that's something that I've really appreciated with you. And on as far as like skill revs like brand and what we want to achieve, you were talking about like HEB and just kind of this local aspect, something that Jeff and I haven't just settled on like we're going to pursue this, but something we've talked about is really wanting to create like an incubator, like an ecosystem, at least in our area, where people can come to us and we can like help them think through like, are you doing customer discovery? Like, when do you need to build like just an MVP product, and like which comes first, customer discovery or MVP product? And like really help people on that way and be a community where people can like brainstorm, because I think that's what's missing in a lot of industries, is being able to have the humility. And a lot of people maybe don't want to do this, but I think talk to other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing and being able to glean and learn from what like. I would love to be able to not learn a super hard lesson if someone else could just teach it to me.
100%.
Honestly,
Like that would be great.
I
If
mean,
they've
we were
already
talking.
gone through all the pain.
Yeah. We were talking about this a little bit earlier before we recorded, but just, I don't know if it's just because I listened to too much Gary Vaynerchuk or what, but he just like really pounded into my brain that business is not a zero-sum game. And like, of course, like somebody gets the chamber contract and I don't. Like, I missed out on that, but that doesn't mean that that's the only contract in the city. Maybe if your city has 1,000 people, maybe if it's Winters, Texas,
Yeah.
it's like that pretty much is how it works. But move, just move.
Yeah.
But like having the mindset that it's not a zero-sum game makes me feel more free to give away my best information, which is a lot of what I was recording, when I did those, 40 something videos the other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was, here's how to start a podcast. It's not like I'm going to gatekeep what cameras I use or what software I use. It's like, one, you could figure this out. Like, you could go online and do the same research I did, but I'm going to give you the shortcut and like help you learn this stuff before you have to like go spend all this time researching. And then two, that positions me as an expert, selfishly. It's like, oh, well, this guy has figured out a bulletproof setup. Like, if somebody has the interest but doesn't have the time, but they have the money, then like maybe they'll hire me off of that. So like selfishly, that helps my business. But also like there's another media company that sits like catty corner from me. It's Quattro. He started a media company called Calici Rose Studios. And like, I'm not even afraid to give him a shout out, because I'm like, he does something that's slightly different, but he has a media company. And I'm like happy to help mentor him along the way and be like, hey, I don't know everything. I've survived for 2 years. So like, at least avoid this set of mistakes that would have killed me, and like,
Right. Yeah.
you can maybe get a little bit ahead, and then maybe you'll pass me up and you can pay me, or I'll pay you, or whatever. And you'll hire me and I'll just work for you or something. I don't know. I don't think I can work another job again, but anyway.
No, I mean, for sure. And I think, especially with Timbersite, and I know Jeff probably has a lot of this with SkillRev too, but with Timbersite, I mean, I think that there are tons of hard lessons that we've learned. We would do it completely different now. I think we would approach like building the product, the speed and focus at which we now know it needed, that it would be completely different. And I would love, if someone is about to embark upon starting a product, I would love to sit down with them and be like, hey, these are some areas that like we definitely did it wrong, and we would do it this way. And and AI has changed it, like we've already talked about, like to the point where like I don't know that we would have even needed to have the same team size that we started out with or anything like that. I think we could have got our MVP done really with just kind of vibe coding and kind of getting something out there for people to start giving us feedback much quicker than we did. So no, I think that's great. And I think positioning yourself like that as someone who's just, I'm willing to just offer up the knowledge that I have and not like hoard that. I just don't think that's going to ever really pay off in the end. If you're going to hoard your knowledge, hoard your experience, yeah, I don't think the payoff's there.
I agree. I think the long-term game, that is the selfish move, is like saying, I'll give it all away for free. Like, I'll give everything away but my time, basically, for free. Or, the stuff that the product that I actually sell. Like, I'll give all the rest of it, the information away. And I
Yeah.
think there's that pull between short-term speed and long-term patience, where like the short term, you have to get stuff done. Like, you have to turn the video around. You have to get the podcast ready to go. Well, on the long term, it's like saying, okay, I'm willing to eat dirt for like 2 years before any major payoff, or I'm willing to work 60, 70-hour weeks for a short period of time in order to know that like in a couple of years, like I can hire somebody to help me out. And that
Yeah.
patience has been helpful to like have that perspective already. And I would say like one really easy hack for somebody who's interested in an endeavor, like building, a SaaS or starting a company, is like change your feed, like change your social media feed to be people who are going to encourage you and teach you how to do the thing that you want to do. And then like that slowly is going to completely warp your mindset to be the things that actually matter in the future.
Mm.
Because that's what I've unknowingly done, is like I was bored in Kirkland, Washington, working at a screen printing shop and needed to like entertain my brain by watching a vlogger on it, like a daily vlogger. And I had Good Mythical Morning, which was like basically a kid's show. And I was like, I stopped watching that. Casey Neistat and Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary V lasted the longest. He like did it the most. And so I just stuck with him. And he's so obnoxious. He's like so Jersey. He was like pushing all these positive traits and pushing entrepreneurship. And unknowingly, I learned a ton from him over like 10 years.
No, that's
So
true. That's true. I mean, what you put in, you put something else in, so you got something else out. So
yeah, it's kind of like the sum of your closest 5 friends. I think your feed is a huge piece of that. Like the more you hang around junk content, the more you consume junk in, junk out, But
That's solid wisdom. I mean, even take something like LinkedIn that's more of like the professional network environment where you get like work tips and what have you. But even there, like this pattern of like, if you do this, stop, and just like these things that are designed to draw attention that may or may not be like really bad or really good advice or what have you. But they're that pattern again and again and again just kind of erodes your confidence that I even know what I need, and like what kind of place does that leave you in versus people that are willing to share in a way that's saying and you can do this too, and cheer for you. I mean, somebody that's on social, like they're never going to be as close as like you said, one of those closest 5 friends that really speaks into you and tells you like, hey, you got this, like when you need to hear it the most. But certainly, yeah, paying attention to like the style of that content and whether it's helping you, that's a good thought.
yeah, I mean, even just trying to weed out negativity like that, exactly that negative hook of like, you're screwing this up, do this instead. Like I get like why that's engineered that way. It really does like go straight to our lizard brain of saying like, I'm in danger, right?
Yeah. Oh, no.
But if you can like take the positive route to say like, hey, like there's a account I follow on TikTok. I'm on TikTok way too much, even though I have like an hour limit set on my phone. Like it's always 15 more minutes. It's so stupid.
has that ever worked for anybody? I don't know.
Some days it at least like gives me an awareness of like, oh crap, it's 7 a.m. and I hit my limit for the day. I need to get out of bed. Like sometimes that happens. But yeah, there's this guy on TikTok called Stuff That Rules. Like his whole thing is like at the end of his workday, he like films himself in his closet saying, here's 5 more things that rules, guys. It's like trains rule. When somebody remembers your birthday, that rules. And like he's gaining a following just by doing the dumbest thing, just saying, but it's positivity. And I think people are really thirsty for like that positivity because so much is just base negativity across the board, even on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, right here, I'm getting value from what you're saying. I'm thinking of all these things that I could do to for some more ads for Timbersite.
Oh, really?
So
Nice.
I probably need to write them down. I need to write them down. So
we'll give chat the transcript and then we'll just have it do that for you.
there we go. No,
Well,
for sure. No, I
actually,
think positivity is great. So,
yeah, well, I mean, even speaking of that, like thinking of workflows and stuff, I've been using a tool called make.com in order to do some automation for me. Some like whether it's transcribing a clip and then captioning it in a really specific branded way, or it's taking meeting notes and then writing me, a to-do list and a follow-up email, that kind of stuff. I'm curious if you guys have had any tools like that that you've tried out that have been successful that might be helpful for somebody kind of starting out, trying to weed through the thousands of ChatGPT clones or whatever that are out there.
I would say I haven't used a lot of those tools for really in what I'm doing with cold calling and stuff like that. I'm starting to use some of the AI features that are in the CRM that I use, which has been really nice. But Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, I think one way that applies for the consulting side of things is early on in this business, I was leaning a lot on selling myself and my abilities to get clients. And so kind of the danger of that is then where you land is like, it's like, oh, well, Jeff Reed needs to be on the call, And then once you have a few clients, all of a sudden your week is over 50% meetings that you don't really say anything in, but it just makes people feel better that you're there. So one was just like correcting that habit in my life and actually selling that the value add is we're going to help you fix offshore. Like there's so many people that we encounter who are like, hey, like we've tried offshore and it just doesn't work. And it's like, well, who you try it with matters, And so take a country like India, there's 1.6 billion people. You met 5, you think you've got a good feel for what that place is like. Like we can find talent for you that is awesome. You just have to know how to look. And so we've had to like adjust the messaging in that way to where they then trust the team that we've hired for them if we do our job and pick really good people. And so then once that happens, then there is still like a need to have context on what's been going on a project, even to like, if somebody's expectations aren't met, to be able to put together a timeline and help them figure out what's happened and what did the team really commit to. And so transcribing all the meeting notes is super valuable, having summaries and just, me taking 5 minutes to read a summary of a stand-up call for a team of engineers on a project that I know the client's nervous on, versus like giving an hour of my time to that has really helped to scale a lot. So, there are too many meeting recorders out there. I see a lot of people use like Fathom AI and Otter AI, Groupthink, some of these different tools. I think it really just comes down to which one works well in the technology where you meet and which one has the most generous free tier that you can live within. And then if you need features beyond that and you've got the money, then I guess you can pay for that, is at least how I'm making those kinds of decisions when I try to listen, like scale on meetings,
Yeah, I mean, and if you have a CRM or some kind of conferencing, like there probably is some already like dictation or transcribing or note taking thing in it, instead of like trying to find the perfect one. I know I can get lost in like finding the exact right AI tool for X, Y, and Z. It's like the one that's right next to you that might be like a $10 add-on or something might be it. Like the speed of just making that decision might be worth it than like hunting down the perfect tool.
For sure. Well, Garrett, when you say, we kind of lived this lesson a few months ago with HubSpot, where we're finally like, okay, I'll pay, 20 a month or 40 a month or whatever it was for these features. And it let us do something really basic, like have just a chat bot on the website where we can engage quickly with someone and see what their questions are and, look for just ways to be personal and helpful to them versus like building that from scratch might have taken some time unless we could vibe code it, but we didn't have to try. It's like I can pay for the add-on and it's tightly integrated with the tool set, and so it's bringing the information where we need it to be. So there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that example, but that's a great example.
That fits, I guess, right?
That chatbot, yeah, it fits perfect. So
that's really interesting. I mean, I've tried to use HubSpot. I got so lost. I had it. I think I had ChatGPT. What?
I was just saying it has a ton of features. I agree. Yeah.
Oh, and like for what I'm just like literally project tracking, and like I ended up with just sticky notes on like the board behind me. Like I'm like, I can sit here and sort. I'm a fan of Lego bricks, clearly. I can sit here and sort like 1,000 Lego bricks by color and shape for hours for some reason. I don't know, it just itches my brain. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just make colorful sticky notes all over the place and I can sort those, I guess, and it's working so far. Digital tracking for me is so difficult with my like distraction tendencies.
Yeah, it's a bit much. I mean, it might be a bit much for what even we're using it for, but but I think as we scale, I'm gonna be glad that we early adopted, you know? Yes, like
Yeah.
maybe I'm working on 20 leads right now, you know, but I've got 1,000 contacts that like are gonna become leads. And eventually, if I get an intern or if I get, as I grow, um, it's gonna be a necessary evil. It's not evil, but a necessary tool that we need. So,
Necessary evil.
A necessary challenge.
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah.
I think I literally had ChatGPT set up my HubSpot. Like the day that agent came out for OpenAI for chat, I was
Oh,
like,
nice.
okay, can you just set this up for me? And it mostly did. And I haven't touched it since then. I don't know. I probably should use it.
So, Landon, in your space, do you tend to reach for chat for most things? I mean, I'm kind of watching like where are specialties developing in the AI space. I'm just kind of curious what you found, but
Chat is the one I've had the longest. To the point I don't even call it Chat GPT. Like I call it, we're buddies now. It's chat. I like literally when I speak, I was like, hey chat, how you doing? Chat is definitely the most accessible and the one I have the most depth with and a ton of conversations with. So it has so much of my information in it that it's really hard to pull that information out and like use a different tool. Sometimes if I need, a photo edited like really fast, then I'll use Gemini. Or if I want to generate like something really specific that's more photorealistic, I'll use Nano Banana, you know. But for the most part, I rarely do like image or video generation anymore. I found it just takes way too long to get the right thing and it never looks how I want it to. So I pretty much make everything by hand now when it comes to, thumbnails or whatever. But for the most part, when I'm ideating, when I'm needing to break down a transcript to make a title and a description for a YouTube video or something, yeah, I have ChatGPT like open in another window like all day.
okay. That's insightful. I've asked probably 10 different people now across a few industries about their favorite ones, and just kind of for general business workflow, I feel like OpenAI is just knocking it out of the park, and like the thoughtfulness of how like the memory of their chat model works. Like it really almost to a creepy level learns a lot about you and like takes some of the effort out of the prompting, right? Like it already knows that you value scrappiness or these different things, and like it just over time, like it just keeps getting better in a way that sometimes you don't see in the other tools. Some people are trying to catch up now, like Anthropic, but that's just been a really cool aspect that so many people have noticed, whether software engineers or someone like you. So that's interesting.
Yeah, my best hack for ChatGPT is my prompting is like a voice memo that's transcribed that's 10 minutes long. Like one prompt is like way too much detail. It's a bunch of rabbit trails and then it's pasted into chat. Be like, go. And that will give me a better result 9 times out of 10 because it has way more detail and information in it than just write me a script about HEB. And it's like, no, I'm getting hyper detailed and saying, I want a script about how HEB built a loyal cult like following and do some research for me on their history as well. And when have they shown up, and like shown up for Texans during disasters or whatever. Like if you give it that much more information, you're going to get that much better, output from it. And I can also, with 5.1 or 5 or whatever it's on now, I can say, remember that conversation I had about Timbersite? Like, help me come up with a couple questions that I could ask if I completely shut down in the middle of this podcast. And it's like, here you go. Here's some like ideas. And then I can refine it from there. Like, I almost never take the first output I get. I go back and say, okay, that was close. Do this. Or like, let's pivot and do this angle on it. And that tends to give me better outputs that I can like actually use.
there's a bit of a parallel in the software space. People will take tools like Replit or something and say, build me a Dropbox clone, and like they'll make a podcast episode about it. And they're like, wow, look how it got everything right. And like they didn't really like tell it anything. And like the precise reason it succeeded so well is because that thing already exists. And so like the thought process of creating and thinking through my edge cases and how do I really want this to flow in a way that's compatible with my business is, if you're creating something that doesn't exist yet, you still have to think, and you still have to hand that guidance to AI if you want to have your mark in the end product. And just, I'm kind of chasing a rabbit here, but something we've been thinking about is just how to find companies that need that kind of help. Like maybe they've gotten started in like vibe coding, as they say, and they've really built something that's, kind of meeting some needs, but then there comes a point where you hit a level of complexity that, perhaps the AI cannot keep your code solution fully in context while it reasons and might miss some things. And like, what do I do now? And just, I'd really like to try and find those people and try to help them, because what they really need is just a software engineer to give just some coaching pointers here, and you can start to continue to milk the AI for more value and continue onwards and climb feature by feature with the right context preparation and all. Just a super interesting problem I've been nerding out about recently. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of reminds me of, how on Thanksgiving Day, certain brands will have like a call-in line that you can call whenever your turkey goes wrong or something. I'm like, maybe a call-in line isn't the move, but like a way to be like emergency assistance, like, brand, almost like the Geek Squad, but for, it's like you can message somebody like, hey, I'm stuck on this. Can like I hop on a call and like have a fee that they pay just to have a consultation? Might be something.
1-800-UNVIBED, just get them on.
1-800 fix my vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. When it comes to starting something, like starting from zero, if you've never started a business before, if you've never coded something before, what was maybe a big motivator personally for you that kind of like kicked you in the butt? Mine was having a kid. Like I was like, oh crud, like I need to figure something out in order to make enough money to where these kids have a future, not just like we can get by next month, but something I know in 10 years is going to grow. And then my second kid that I had, I was like, oh crap, like I really got to do something. And that's when I started my business. And I don't know if that's just your sixth kid for you, Garrett, or like, or what. I'm curious if you guys have something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll quickly say I definitely resonate with family being the best motivator, like I love them, I want to provide well for them. Definitely that was in mind, to go down this path.
I think for me, especially like with Timbersite, I think the idea of future has been a big motivator for me. Just knowing that like, okay, if this does succeed, it will mean, a lot, even for my kids or just the future. So that's been a motivator for sure. But I think also just a drive to want to see it succeed. Or is it the inverse, a fear of it failing? I think a drive to see it succeed may be the nicer, it sounds a lot better, but I really think it's a fear of failure, I think, has been the motivator. I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to be just another SaaS that kind of started, showed a lot of promise, and then just fades into the background and never gains the traction that it really needs to be successful. I think that's probably, specifically with Timbersite, been the biggest motivation. Obviously my family is all the motivation I need to like just get up and go to work every day. But I hold it open-handedly of like, all right, if this is gonna, like, I want it to succeed, I want to do everything that I can to make it succeed. And that's really, I would say, my motivation.
I mean, I'll encourage you. You only fail when you quit. Like if you keep at it, or even if you pivot, like I don't even consider pivoting a failure. I try not to like ascribe my own value as a human onto my business. It's not easy sometimes because it's like you're watching numbers and you're like, if I'm not making the numbers go up, then I'm like not doing something right. That's not always true. A lot of times that's not true. And so like taking yourself out of the value of the business and saying, I just got to figure out along the way if I need to pivot into something else, or if I need to change up the model, if I need to dial in the messaging, whatever X, Y, and Z is, not being precious with it. It's very easy for something that's considered a visual art to not be precious with every single piece of it and obsess over every single piece of it. But being, like you said, more open-handed with like, I want this to succeed. I don't want it to fail. But being willing to ask the question, like, how am I not bringing value in a way that makes people want this? And like, I take Alex Hormozi's concept of making an offer so good, people feel stupid saying no to it. It's like, where's that like offer in there that it's like so obvious? And like, how am I not engineering this the right way? I guess is how I look at it.
Yeah. No, that's a great thought.
Yeah, the only other thing that comes to mind is like I think a lot of people will start new businesses or things just a desire to do it with excellence. They're just looking at the space and feeling like the folks that are there are apathetic in some way, or maybe you're just a little bit of like people pleaser at heart and just really get gratification from seeing somebody else do well. And so I tend to be a little wired that way, but that totally gets dangerous when like, you know, there's like the client who's unable to be satisfied. You know, they're just like, they always want more. And at some point it's like, okay, I've given you a ton of value, you know, like, can we rein this relationship in just a little bit, you know, and like having the bravery to say that. Having a diverse client base gives you the freedom to say that, right? Like everybody gets started with like 0 clients and then 1 client. And then it's like, oh no, more than 50% of my income is dependent on somebody else, and that could go away any month. And so you need multiple clients, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay, you know, you start to have your own voice that you can articulate in the business. But it's a journey. No one can have that on, you know, day 2 or whatever. It takes a while.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well with clients, and you know, I feel like there's a very direct line between the $50 a month client wants every single piece of the puzzle, whereas like somebody who's like $5,000 a month, they're like, yeah, I wired the money, you're good, just like show up. And you're like, oh geez, like there's such a crazy difference and like headaches.
Yeah,
it's like I would much rather solve rich people problems than the other way around. I mean, even as far as knowing what you do and who you serve, almost like, because Timbersite has a very specific, you know, target audience is like construction companies and project management for those small to medium-sized construction companies, right? Like, I imagine there's a temptation to broaden that scope a little bit. Have you ever like approached that temptation, and like have you thought about going that direction at all?
You know, when we first started, I think that we thought, okay, our target audience, our avatar is like residential remodeler, you know, or home builder. And I think what we've actually found is it's like we have began to broaden the scope. So we had the temptation, maybe we should broaden this. And as we've started to broaden it and bring in people from kind of some different industries, now we're discovering, I think we need to narrow the scope, but we're leaving our original avatar behind to some degree.
Oh, interesting.
You know, because I think really what that is lack of customer discovery on the front end. You know, like I didn't even think about talking to this customer in the beginning, thinking like, oh, well, maybe we could fit this like niche or this specific trade in the industry really well. And maybe it's a little bit of an untapped market, to whereas the residential remodeler or the home builder, there's a million tools already that are just like going after that customer specifically. So obviously we're a great tool for if you're a remodeler or a home builder and you're hearing this podcast, like we're for you. But as far as like our marketing and kind of where we're wanting to spend our time calling and kind of beating down the doors, I think we're going to start to focus on kind of a different industry and a more niche area. So what in our the temptation to broaden helped us focus in the long term.
That's really interesting. I feel like even just a curiosity to try broadening a little bit, because I mean, from what I saw, you didn't completely change the name, you know, to be something different and be more broad either.
We didn't need to change anything to hit more markets. to hit different people in different parts of the industry. We didn't need to change anything. So for us, it was easy to kind of like expand out. And I mean, Matt has been a big part of that. You're aware, and just kind of him bringing some of his ideas and tools into our software has really opened up this idea of like, okay, we need to focus on this industry versus this industry. And so, yeah, we're hoping to see a lot of fruit from that relationship and kind of this, I think, more intense focus on a specific trade.
How has that integration gone so far? Is that fully integrated yet, or is that still in development?
So we are literally like entering kind of the testing phase and kind of
Nice.
wrapping up the development of kind of the beta of that integration. We're really hoping to end the year with it fully functional, and then probably roll into the first of the year and kind of launch it. I think Matt and I are going to do some webinars and really try to get a lot of people, just a core customer base there on board, and kind of go from there. So that's kind of the plan.
That's really
but no,
cool.
it's going good.
At least whenever I was doing a lot more Excel, whenever I had a really boring base job and was like literally making Sonic the Hedgehog artwork in cells, like using like the colors as pixels. That's how bored I was. I was like, I could get a minimum of like 1 pixel per cell. But I thought I was a wizard at Excel at that point, because I made this base-wide document that like worked pretty well. I can't imagine what his spreadsheets look like to be able to track all of that and give you this back-end data that helps you. Is it the price, the way you pay your employees, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's a performance-based payroll reporting.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we're bringing into Timbersite. So we definitely believe that like paying your guys, paying like in-house employees, a performance-based pay system is definitely the way of the future, especially now that software is making it really accessible to calculate. Before it was just it's really just too much. But now, yeah, I mean, based upon your someone's efficiency, they're going to be able to be bonused, or their hourly rate will be able to be increased. So it's a really cool concept, and it's something that is really tailored and hits the construction industry really well, because it's the best way to motivate and to incentivize your guys to know that like they can just come to work and kick butt every day and get rewarded financially for doing that, instead of just where's the incentive is, I'm just going to make my normal hourly rate every day for the foreseeable future. I'm excited about it. I hope people can catch a vision in the first of the year, and we can see a lot of growth as a result.
Yeah, I was just really impressed with Matt. Like, he's, in my opinion, pretty visionary. He redefined that word efficiency. Like, you're going to say that most people are going to hear, like, be a good steward of your time, which is one aspect of it. But he's also like pushing like the decrease and defects afterwards. Like, have we done a job right once as a form of that being efficient? And like that system of how you calculate everything rewards that, and like rewards people that treat their work like an owner would treat it. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's really hard to get that same level of buy-in that an owner has for employees, because they just don't have the stake in it. And like, I've heard of owners being upset that their employees don't work as hard as them. It's like, it's not their company. Like, how can they possibly care as much as you do? That's rude, if anything. Like, come on.
Right.
That's a really cool way that it's kind of like hacking the data you would normally get just from tracking your work, tracking your company and the jobs, and being able to have an output that incentivizes and makes your employees' lives better, quite frankly.
Yeah. And as a sidebar, after this call, I'm going to go try and get Claude to create me an Excel spreadsheet with Sonic the Hedgehog inside of it. And if I succeed, I'll send it to you. I just want to see if AI has reached that level of creativity yet.
Yeah. I would be interested to see that. It was such a boring job, and I was so bad at it. I just didn't work, basically. And I was a child, and I don't know how I got that job at all. It was terrible. Cool. And I think just to like hit SkillRev one more time, I'm curious, because I know like I have an image in my head when you say, offshore code developing and things like that. What like normally I would assume is like kind of a ragtag group of people who can like kind of get it done just because it's cheaper. That's pretty much the trade-off that you get. I know you guys have an entire process for finding the right guys who like are motivated to do it right and motivated to do quality work. I'm curious if you can talk about that a little bit as well for SkillRev.
Yeah. So, as you asked that question, one thing that comes to mind is I actually spent about 4 years living in India, which 2 of those before ever thinking about doing my own business, and 2 years of that while trying to figure out and put this business together and do it that in a scrappy way. And we made a bit of a mistake early on thinking like, well, we're a new business. We don't want to have like expensive overhead and have full-time employees. That seems risky, because what if they roll off a project and I have to keep paying them and I run out of money? And so we tried contractors at first. We were really just like a middleman doing subcontracting to Indian partners. And just what we discovered is like Indians tend to have a very close, highly relational relationship with their supervisor, where there's a lot of opportunity to set culture. But if you're outside of their organization, like that's just kind of gone. Like there's no mechanism of control there. And so we're experiencing the same problem that like our US clients were experiencing, where they hire another company and they just struggle to have control over, hey, let's do this with excellence, and let's think about all the possible ways this can impact other modules that exist in the system and so forth. And so to really set that vision, we had to go ahead and just take the risk and hire employees and coach in-house and give them time together at employee events to share with each other what's working well in different industries. This guy's working over here in telecom, and maybe this gal is in local county government, and they discover something that both of them can benefit from. I don't know, I could go on about that for a while, but they're just some ways to give them space to process and see that they have permission to innovate that some companies in India don't do. And so that's something that's compounded value for our clients over the years as we've gone on. We've started officially with offshore employees since early 2020, which anyone who took a business through COVID knows that that's tricky 6 ways to Sunday, but we made it somehow by God's grace. We did, and kept going. And yeah, it's just been fun to watch them like learn a level of ownership, and even to introduce like, some bonusing structures to help them catch a vision for like, no, really, we actually really value you innovating. Like, don't just do things the simple, tedious, dumb way. Like, if you find a way to work smarter, not harder, then we'll celebrate that, man. Like, that's okay to do too, That's
cool. Almost taking a little bit of Matt Smith's concept as well of like bonusing out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool. Yeah, I got my first intern. It's like part-time employee level, like 20 hours a week kind of thing. But he's like a kid, 19-year-old international student at ASU. And now I get to learn how to lead. Like before I had a contractor who was helping me do some editing, but now I have somebody who's like here almost every day, doing some remote stuff from like his apartment, but like also, working at the desk next to me. So I'm just selfishly, do you have any like really simple, accessible tips that you have for like what you've learned along the way to kind of help lead and like obviously care? I think care is like the easiest shortcut. It's like care about your people, but anything else?
Yeah, care is a huge piece of that. Like, people are going to make mistakes, right? Like, I remember the first time I made a mistake in a job, and I was like terrified to have to go to my supervisor and fess up to what's happened. And like, they were so kind and patient. It's like, listen, we all make mistakes. I'll help you make this right. Versus, they could have had another response. So I just, that trust pays dividends for sure.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking time to come on and just basically just chat about business and entrepreneurship and some scrappiness and stuff you've learned. If you want to give a quick shout out to where people can find you guys, find out more information if they're interested in either SkillRev or Timbersite.
Yeah, people can find Timbersite, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Check out our podcast, Industry Bros, which Landon produces beautifully, I might add. And obviously timbersite.net if you're interested in learning more about what that product can do for you.
Yeah, if you the main place you'll find us, just our website, skillrev.dev.dev as in developer, and then we have we post somewhat regularly on LinkedIn and have some client reviews on a site called clutch.co, where you can get vetted consultancy partners. And yeah, whatever you may be up to in any particular industry, if you feel the need to try and scale with software, we at least want to help you think about that well. So we have to kind of cash the check we're writing on this episode and say we're willing to help people think about what makes sense for them. And so, yeah, give us a shout.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys a ton. Thank you.
Thanks, Landon. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Landon.